Thank you, everyone, for being here from all over, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in. Thank you for taking this time to be with us, to be in practice together. And thank you to those of you who will be watching the recording later and connecting in. So, tonight well, first of all, my name's Nicole, and I'm calling in from Ohio. And Cynthia won't be here with us tonight. She's spending time with family, but we feel her presence with us. And Elizabeth, Christine, and I will be hosting tonight. And so I just want to begin by acknowledging the lineage of our practice together and sharing this with you. So a great many hands have come together to craft this. So beginning in the 8th century in Tibet, the Guru Padmasambhava, the lotus-born, and his consort Yeshe Sogyal, wisdom queen of the lake, brought forth and hid many spiritual treasures, including the practice of the Earth Treasure Vases. They concealed these treasure teachings called termas to be held in the inner realms until the times of degeneration when they would be needed. And then they would be discovered by treasure revealers called tertins. And the practice of the Earth Treasure Vases was revealed in the 1800s by the great tertin Dujam Lingpa at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, at a time when humanity's relationship with nature was changing in a severe and rapid way. Since its discovery, this practice has been widely held by many lineages of the Vajrayana. In 1990, when Cynthia Jors traveled to Nepal and met the 106-year-old Buddhist Lama in the cave, Charak Rinpoche, he gave Cynthia the Earth Treasure Vase practice in answer to her deepest prayers and her question, how can we bring healing and protection to the earth? At that time, under the direction of Charak Rinpoche and with the help of Lama Tsultrim, Earth Treasure Vases were crafted with the sacred medicines in the monasteries in Nepal. And following this, Cynthia was given the empowerments for these termas of the Dujam Tersar lineage from her root teacher, Gayatrul Rinpoche. Please excuse my pronunciations. And she and this growing community have spent the last 30 plus years in devotional effort to distribute these Earth Treasure Vases to communities on every continent across the earth as an antidote to help to restore the vitality within the essence of the elements in the area around where they are placed, to help heal the earth and relieve the suffering in these times of degeneration. So every full moon, for 30 years plus, this Gaya Mandala community has gathered to name each placement, none are forgotten, and to tend this global mandala with our loving attention and to visualize a healed earth. So we honor the primordial wisdom of Guru Padmasambhava and Yeshe Sogyal, who originated the practice and planted the seeds for these times. We honor the Dujam Tersar lineage who rediscovered it when it was needed. We honor Charak Rinpoche for seeing the true prayers in Cynthia's heart and for his wisdom in passing this practice to her directly. We honor Lama Tsultrim, who introduced Cynthia to Charak Rinpoche and who created the vases and helps to guide the practice today. And to our beloved Cynthia, for her enduring commitment for these past 30 years and the manifold gifts that she has brought to us and to Gaia through sharing this ancient practice. In Australia, we also honor Auntie Margaret Catherine, who in accepting the Earth Treasure Vase as teacher, brought us together as family, and in so doing brought alive the world community. We honor the Tewa elder, Marian Naranjo in New Mexico, where the center of the mandala lives, for guiding the crafting of the third generation vases. And lastly, we honor the lands and the peoples all over who are now a part of the Living Earth Treasure Vase mandala and story, which continues to unfold. So I'll pass it to you, Elizabeth.
Okay, well, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to a couple of people who will be sharing their vase with us tonight, starting with Stephen Piccha. And Stephen was actually part of the Ghost Ranch team that worked with Cynthia over a couple years to make that retreat happen. Because of COVID, there were a lot of bumps in the road. And due to his deep respect and knowing of the indigenous people of New Mexico, he really facilitated making Marian Naranjo comfortable and able to bring the people who would assist in the making of the vases. So much honoring to you, Stephen. And then he joined the retreat, which was really wonderful, and crafted a third generation vase with the intention of bringing healing to the area in New Mexico known as the Permian Basin. And it extends, well, it's also in Texas. So it's a big area in southern New Mexico and Texas. And it's where the highest producing oil fields in the United States are located. And oil was first discovered in the Permian Basin in 1920. And there are also extensive gas fields and fracking taking place in the basin, and resultant sinkholes happening in the area. And it's also the location of the WIPP site, which is the main nuclear waste storage site for the United States. And it's interesting that prior to going to Nepal to receive this practice, Cynthia was actually very active in trying to stop the WIPP site from coming to New Mexico. And so it was very much on her heart when she walked that mountain to the cave. And so it's so beautiful that now we are welcoming Kayley Shoup, also will speak tonight. And she's from Carlsbad, New Mexico, which is a little town right on the northern part of the Permian Basin and near to all these sites. And bless her, she is an environmental activist in the area and has agreed to co-steward Stephen's vase for the healing of the Permian Basin. And so their plan is to bury the vase on September 22nd. And so we welcome the two of you, starting with Stephen, to share about your intentions.
Thank you, Elizabeth, Christine, and good evening, everyone. And in addition to Kayley, we're also very privileged to have with us Sister Joan Brown and Sister Marlene Parrott, who are also very much a part of the journey of the Permian Basin Vase. And they will be able to, our Sister Joan probably in particular will fill in some of the pieces that make what is about to happen in these next few weeks with the pilgrimage. And it's literally a pilgrimage that's about to begin for the movement of the vase to its burial spot. But as Elizabeth Christine said, I had the opportunity to meet Cynthia maybe 5 years back. It was pre-COVID. She was working with Mirabai Star on a retreat at Ghost Ranch when I worked there at that time. And that's when I got introduced to this practice. And when I heard about it, that's when I asked Cynthia, I said, Cynthia, have you ever thought about a third generation of the vases? And so that activated a seed. And between her and Marian and others, in August of 2021. That was when the third generation circle gathered, and I was privileged to be able to create a vessel at that time. And prior to that, I had attended one of the immersions down to the Permian Basin with the New Mexico Interfaith Power and Light that is doing and has been doing contemplative and social justice work all over the state of New Mexico, but also in particular in the Permian Basin. And I just knew at that point that there needed to be great healing in that area. After the vessel was made, I kept it for a while, but Kayley then had come on board, beginning her work, as Elizabeth Christine said, as an activist in the area. And so we had ceremony to do a passing over of the vase to Kayley. And then I'm going to let Kayley now speak to how that is continued and then what is about to transpire in these next few weeks.
Yes, hello everyone, and it's so great to be here with you all tonight. And I'm so grateful to Stephen for trusting me with stewarding this Earth Treasure Vase. It's really been quite a gift. As he mentioned, he met me last summer, during one of these immersion retreats that Interfaith Power and Light puts on, that inspired the making of this particular vase and the choosing of the location that it would be dedicated to. And so I first wanted to talk a little bit about how Citizens Caring for the Future came to be. We're a very small grassroots advocacy environmental group based in Southeast New Mexico. And as Elizabeth Christine mentioned, the Permian Basin is the most active oil field in the country. It spans Southeast New Mexico and West Texas. And we are more or less the only advocacy group of our kind in the entirety of the Permian Basin. It's a very different culture here, and there can be quite a bit of political extremism, and it's just a very different place that I would say is not always grounded in community. It is in some ways, but not the ways that maybe we always think of it. And so Sister Joan with Interfaith Power and Light has been putting on these immersion retreats where she brings people from northern New Mexico, Texas, all over the place to tour the Permian Basin and to see what is happening here since the latest fracking boom started. And we've had this huge influx of oil and gas, which I'll show you all a map of the area here shortly, because I feel like having a visual really helps with realizing the scope of what is happening here. And so she's been leading these immersion retreats for years and years, and she would get community, mainly faith leaders from Carlsbad, Hobbs, Southeast New Mexico. She would get them together to speak to these groups, just to really share their concerns and talk about what it's like to live in a frontline community that is being inundated by big oil, fracking, things like that. And so they got together, and I believe there was a retreat, and it was spring of 2019. And they had this retreat, and all of the faith leaders heard each other talking and realized that they had the same concerns. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of political extremism in the area, and it can be very scary to speak out. And we have a really hard time getting people to engage in these things. And then also really just the scope of the issue here. It's very much David versus Goliath. And so I think people have a real hesitancy to, get involved in any way. But these faith leaders heard that they had these same concerns and decided, you know what, we would like to, shepherd a small group. So Interfaith Power and Light, New Mexico, El Paso region really helped to get our little group off the ground, and still are, our main our stone, our foundation. And then Earthworks as well, if you've ever heard of them. They do thermography, where they look at oil and gas sites through a FLIR video camera and catch invisible pollution. And so this little group got up and running, and I had no idea that this group existed. They were in the media and things, but I just hadn't come across it. And I'm from Carlsbad. I moved away in 2011, and I moved back in 2018. And there's always been oil in this area, but it was not, it's not every day. It was not growing at a rapid pace. I really didn't think of it often. But when I moved back in 2018, this Permian, what they call oil boom, fracking boom, essentially, had started, and it was really just like a whole different community overnight in a lot of ways. We saw an influx of about 20,000 people. It went from being a small town with no traffic to lots of traffic. There were daily car accidents. The highways were extremely dangerous, and the cost of living was shooting up. You know, we couldn't find teachers to teach all these new children because they couldn't afford the cost of living here in our tiny little town, our little corner of the world, just all these different issues, systemic issues, all sorts of things. And, you know, I just really observed it for a long time. I was not someone that thought about climate change or environmental impacts. And then I started to realize that a lot of people in my family, a lot of my friends, and then just, you know, acquaintances were getting diagnosed with rare and aggressive cancers at, you know, like young and relatively young ages. And I went searching for answers at that point. Did not have the community I have now or the, you know, resources that I have now, and didn't really quite know where to turn. This was late 2019. And then COVID happened, and, you know, the world got turned upside down, and I didn't think about it much. And around November 2020, one of the wonderful leaders with our little group, Citizens Caring for the Future, reached out to me over Facebook message and said, you know, I think you would be interested in this. And do you want to meet me and this earthworks thermographer? And so I met these two people on the side of the highway I had never met before. And, you know, I learned that Citizens Caring for the Future existed. I met a family that had a produced water line bust across the street from their house. And it showered their home in radioactive, you know, water and contaminated water. They eventually had to settle with the company and move, and they had to put all their animals to sleep. Really, really tragic. But they took that and they, you know, began advocating, and they were doing really brave and amazing things. And I was just so inspired. And they were looking for a community organizer at the time, and that's how I kind of came on board to do all of this work. And then about a year later, I ran into Stephen. He came to one of our immersion retreats and was so gracious to pass on this vessel to me. And it's been wonderful to have it on this journey. So we've had many immersion retreats since then. And every time we have these immersion retreats, the vessel travels with us through the oil field in the car with us. And, you know, we do different rituals throughout these things. And it's had, you know, soil offerings from people that are attending, and has been prayed over and good intentions put into it. And it's always with me most of the time. It's with Stephen right now, but it's with me. And as I work every day, it sits next to me, I think, just kind of guiding the work that I'm doing here in the Permian. And so now it's getting close to the time to bury it. And as Stephen said, it's actually going to go on a pilgrimage through New Mexico, which is really going to be quite exciting. And I think it's going to, it gets to have the energy of a lot of places, and, you know, hopefully begin to heal lots of areas in New Mexico. And Joan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but since we have you here, I'm going to pull up the map. Would you want to maybe walk them through the beginning and what it's going to be, the journey it's going to be going on? And then I can talk the Permian part.
Sure, that would be fine. I wasn't sure we were going to be on tonight, but we ended up being here. So that'd be great, Kayley.
I'm going to pull up the map for you.
And thank you, Stephen, and everyone for being here.
And I didn't mention, so this last, this pilgrimage that it's going on, it's actually going to be buried during an immersion retreat. So it was, the idea was birthed during one of these, it got passed on, and now we're going to end its journey with an immersion retreat. And the Sisters of Mercy, there is a group of them coming from really around the world. I think the farthest is coming from Ghana. And we have this group that will be doing a tour of New Mexico, highlighting the colonialism in New Mexico. And it will end in the Permian Basin with the bearing of this vase. And so Joan is going to talk a little bit about the beginning of the journey, and I'm going to pull up a map so you guys kind of have a visual.
And Sister Marlene is in my community with me, and she's here. She's part of this organizing. And so is Marianne Comfort, who works with Justice and Peace with the Mercy Sisters, and she's on this event tonight as well. So they're both here, and we're working on this together. So what we're doing is we are having this immersion retreat experience around colonization and extractivism in the state of New Mexico, and exploring the deeper roots of why we continue to do this extractivism and harm Mother Earth and our communities, and all that is given to us in this common home. And so we're going to start from Albuquerque, and then we are traveling up to Los Alamos National Labs, where we hope that we'll be meeting with Marion and maybe some other people, taking the vessel with us as we go, carrying it. We'll be having many prayers and rituals along the way, praying for healing and for insight and what might be ours to do. And then we'll travel to beyond Gallup to Window Rock, which is the seat of the Navajo Nation, and learn about the long walks, which were really genocidal walks of the Navajo people from that place to Fort Sumner, which is just north of where the Permian Basin is, actually. And on our way from Window Rock, we're going to be going to Redwater Pond, which is another site of devastation of the third largest nuclear accident in the world. Most people don't know about that. In 1979, a uranium tailings pond burst, and we'll be meeting with the Navajo community at Redwater Pond, and there'll be more prayers with this, with the sacred vessel. And then we're going to be going to Laguna for folks that we work with there, and for a special dance on San Jose Day, and then to the largest open pit uranium mine in the country, if not the world, on Laguna land, back to Albuquerque, then on to Redondo, and then down south. But before Kayley enters in, I just wanted to explain this map a little bit, which really shows the, and it's kind of hard to see it, but it shows in those colored places, some of the walks, or not even walks, but death marches or walks. Oh, that's better. Of the Navajo people who were rounded up, and it was to go to Bosque Redondo or Fort Sumner, where they suffered a great deal, and the U.S. government really had intended probably for them to die, or most of them, but they are very strong, resilient people, very strong in prayer, and they ended up ultimately walking back to Navajo Nation. But many, many died. So we'll be traveling along one of these routes that goes to Redondo. We will be carrying with us the sacred vessel. And also this land is in the midst of the 4 sacred mountains as well, including Mount Taylor, Mount Blanca, which is, you can't quite see, is in Colorado up there, and San Francisco Peak, and then the Hesperon Mountain. So the 4 sacred mountains that hold this land for the indigenous people here. So Kayley, I'll let you continue with what is happening with our sacred pilgrimage of healing once we get to the Permian.
Yes, thank you so much for that explanation and for shepherding it through that portion. I think it's really exciting that it's getting to move through so many places. So then it will come down to the Permian. And when we are here in the Permian Basin, we will tour a lot of the oil field here in the region and really take them out into the middle of it so they can see a lot of what is happening in the area. We also will likely probably not drive directly past WIP, but we'll be in the vicinity of the WIP site, as that is really in the middle of all this oil and gas production as well. And so I did want to, before I kind of get into the ceremony part of the closing it and things like that, I did want to show you all just a map, as I mentioned, kind of this region. So here we have a map of oil sites in New Mexico, and you can kind of see the stats here. This is for the whole state of New Mexico. So a very large number of oil wells, also a large number of gas wells. And there are new things coming, things like, you know, there we have injection wells, saltwater disposal wells, but carbon capture, that is injecting the carbon back into the ground. Those will be wells for, there will be wells for those kinds of things. There's things like hydrogen production that is coming down the pike that will really have an impact on, you know, northwest New Mexico, where they're planning to put a lot of these hubs, but also it is made with methane that is coming from the oil and gas industry. So, you know, there's all these new kind of threats looming as time has gone on. But so you all can see this map. I'm going to zoom in on it a little because it shows you some different views as you do. But this just kind of gives an idea. This is all oil and gas site, and this is a heat map. So the areas that you're seeing, the yellow is where kind of there's the most. And I have to zoom out quite a bit to get the yellow spots. But as you can see, we are completely covered with oil and gas sites. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because it actually shows you kind of the number of sites in a much more kind of jarring way. And there we go. So these are all oil and gas sites in the region, active. Not necessarily all active, but these are oil and gas wells, different gas wells, things like that, disposal wells. And so this is, I live in Carlsbad. All of this area north, Artesia is covered, as you can see. And then if we were to go to the east over by Hobbs, this is all the brand new oil and things like that. I mean, it is just, we're inundated with all of these oil and gas sites that bring with them, you know, air pollution, using our water resources, also polluting the water as well. And then the land is really quite jarring to drive through the area and just see the devastation that all of this causes to just our natural world and our environment and the ecology of the region. So I just wanted to kind of give you all that visual because I feel that it really outlines it quite well and gives you an idea of just how much is going on here. And then, sorry, I have to navigate this. So we'll tour through this whole region. We will drive through southeast New Mexico. Folks will really get to see what it looks like when there's that many oil and gas sites. And we will be meeting with community members here in southeast New Mexico just to discuss, once again, as we always do on these retreats, their experience of dealing with the environmental pollution. You know, some of them, if they're willing to share their thoughts on climate change and their fears around it, and then also maybe how we're impacting, you know, the greater world with what's happening here, things like that. And then from there, we will be going, we'll drive through the oil field, we'll be driving back to Carlsbad, and we have sharing time, dinner, where we all kind of discuss what we've seen for the day. And then on Friday, we will go to the Carlsbad Caverns so that they can see, we always call it the cathedral underground, so they can see this beautiful cathedral underground. And then the base will be buried at an area that is actually technically part of the Carlsbad Caverns. It's not down in the caverns, but it's a part of the national park. And it's a place called Rattlesnake Springs, just a few miles south of the Carlsbad Caverns. And there's a natural spring there. And Joan, you know, there's cave drawings, so there have been indigenous people there. And it's this really, really beautiful, peaceful place that so far has stayed untouched by oil and gas, and we hope to keep it that way. And I just wanted to show you all kind of on a map so you have an idea. So what I was showing you, as you can see, if you see highway, what highway is that? Well, you can see the Carlsbad Caverns National Park right here, and you can kind of see how, you know, you have the oil and gas out there right to the east, right? And so Rattlesnake Springs is just in this little area right here, kind of southwest. And so that is where it will be buried. And the whip site also, just to kind of have that context as well, the whip site is right in just about that area right there. And this map, as I'm looking, there should be blue right here. I'm not sure exactly what it's. Joan, do you agree with me? I think there should be blue right
Yes,
here.
there should be blue there, yes.
Yeah, I'm on the New Mexico map. I'm not sure why that's not there. That is also inundated with oil and gas sites as well, but that's just kind of a reference point for you all. And that's the waste isolation pilot plant that's taking low-level nuclear waste from Colorado, but that is, they're working to possibly change that and take higher level, unfortunately. So, but that's just a little bit of context there. So we'll close with the ritual at Rattlesnake Springs and giving, you know, these prayers with a group of Mercy Sisters, blessing the vessel, and then it will be buried at Rattlesnake Springs. And it feels like the perfect place to end it and the perfect time. And yeah, I think that's about it. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. I'm sure Sister Joan and Stephen are as well.
Well, typically how we do it is we invite your share and then we transition into the meditation. So maybe questions, if folks have that, could happen in the mandala later, or we can direct them to you through email if that feels appropriate. But thank you so much. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Let's begin our meditation by taking a few deep breaths, breathing in and breathing out, deep and slow, and allow your body to relax, sensing the ground beneath you, holding you, offering stability and calm. Your roots reaching down into the earth. Breathing in, draw up the earth's energy through your taproot, the life force of Mother Earth, which flows freely and generously. And letting thoughts of the past and concerns for the future melt away in this precious moment of deep communion with the energy of Mother Earth. And from this place of being deeply rooted, open your crown chakra to the light from above, feeling the warmth of the sun, the light of this full moon, and the glistening stars, expanding your consciousness out as you connect with the vast energies of the cosmos. Rooted below, connected above, breathing in the present moment.
And now let's feel our connectedness to the special place that you sit on the planet right now. Feeling your relationship to the soils and the stones, the waterways, the forests, flowers, whichever communities of life call that place home with you, who also receive stability and nourishment from Mother Earth and the warmth of the sun and the moon in this place, just like you. In this present moment, in this special place, we acknowledge those who have come before. We acknowledge the ancestors of the original indigenous peoples of the lands that we inhabit, who have been in sacred relationship with these lands for countless generations. We acknowledge the future ancestors of this land, who will continue to hold this land as sacred for generations to come. We humbly invite them to bless us who are here in this time and bless our practice.
Now call upon all your sources of inspiration, your own ancestors, elders, teachers and guides, lineage masters, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all wisdom beings to whom you are connected. Invite them to be present with us now. Invite their blessings to enter you and to enter everyone who is present for this meditation. Let us receive the blessing of this love, this guidance, healing, and clarity. And as the blessings of your guides enter you, feel their love and caring coming all the way into your deepest heart of hearts. Breathe it in. And on your next out breath, send this love to everyone who is present in our circle. Breathing in, receive the love that is being sent by others. Breathing out, sending this love from you. Breathing in, receiving, and breathing out, sending. Like the ebb and flow of the tides, washing blessings throughout our global community. Now expanding your focus to include all your own friends, family, and all of those who this practice may serve. Blessings flowing out from your heart, through your neighborhood, bioregion, your country, and across the continent, to include all beings in all places, everywhere. Embracing the whole planet with our love, breathing in and breathing out as Gaia's tide.
And with this flow continuing to happen without any effort on our part, with our breath, let's turn our awareness to those who are suffering, the places where there is war, poverty, disease, pollution, droughts, floods, or fires. wherever the need for healing is very great. Breathing in and breathing out and sending our care and our love to relieve the suffering of the earth for people and all of life around the whole planet. Imagine that where there is hunger, great nourishing gardens begin to grow. And where there is thirst, fresh, clean waterways spring up. Where there are unhoused, safe shelters are built. Where there is war and conflict, we hear choirs of peace echo in the hills. Where there is sickness, vital health is being celebrated. And aware of where the earth is unstable, in danger, or out of balance in any way, imagine a restoration of balance, power, bringing protection and regeneration. As we hear the song lines of the land sing in great harmonies. And see in our communities flowing freely with generosity and reciprocity, seeing the beauty and riches of nature flowering into abundance for the sustenance of life, revitalizing this radiant blue-green planet we call home.
And as we hold this vision of Mother Earth filled with her abundance, let us call into our awareness the presence of the Earth Treasure Vases that have been planted or are in the process of being planted around the world. With each one named, imagine our Sangha pouring love and caring in the form of light into each and every little clay pot, filling each vase with our deepest prayers and blessings for healing. Imagine each Earth Treasure Vase radiating light in every direction, sending healing and protective energies wherever they are needed, in whatever form is needed. See this light like a rainbow streaming forth from each of the vases, white, yellow, red, blue, green, and all the colors in between. Breathing in and breathing out. Allow the feeling of compassion to grow in your heart of hearts, sending your love in the form of light through each named Earth Treasure Vase to all the people, animals, plants, and places in need of healing and protection in the past, in the present, and in the future. So beginning at the center of the Earth Treasure Vase Global Healing Mandala in a cave above Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, the birthplace of the atomic bomb. And to the north at the source of the Rio Grande River in Creede, Colorado. To the south at the mouth of the Rio Grande at the Gulf of Mexico. To the east on top of Mount Baldy above Santa Fe, and to the west on Mount Chicoma, known as Sicamu, to the Tewa people of New Mexico, the custodians of the sacred lands where the mandala began.
And now, having established the center in the four directions, see the mandala growing in every direction. to the Indian Point Nuclear Reservation on the Hudson River in New York, to the headwaters, old-growth redwood forest in Northern California, the Punta Cometa on the coast of Oaxaca, Mexico, Vilcabamba, Ecuador, Jakova, Kosovo, the Lawrence Laboratory at the University California, Berkeley, the Dal Dum Forest on the border of Thailand and Burma, the village of Ein Kerem in Israel, Palestine, Hiroshima, Japan, the cloisters in New York City after 9/11, the Biosphere 2 in Oracle, Arizona, the Martin Luther King Freedom Center in Oakland, California, the source of the Ganges in India, the source of the Amazon in Peru, the Southern Pacific Ocean 93 feet down in Egum Atoll, the Trobriand Islands, Papua New Guinea, the Arctic Circle, Alaska, the Kogi lands of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, Colombia, Telewoyan Village, Lofa County, Voinjama District, Liberia, West Africa, the Blyde River Canyon, Limpopo Province, South Africa, the Giza Plateau, Egypt, Haleakala, Maui, Hawaii, the Atombwe Forest, South Kivu Province, Democratic Republic of Congo, Avebury, England, Binduluk, Jawin Country, Catherine, Northern Territory, Australia.
And now the second generation Earth Treasure Vases, which have been buried in Gabarnmung, Arnhem Land, Australia, the Mackenzie King Park, Ottawa River Valley, Ottawa, Gatineau, Canada, the original garden in Findhorn, Scotland, the Great Stupa of Bodhanath in Kathmandu, Nepal, the Flint Hills of Kansas in the heartland of America, the Santa Cruz Mountains near Silicon Valley, California, the Valles Caldera of northern New Mexico, Pernalulu, Bungles, the Kimberleys, Australia, the village of Utqiagvik at the edge of the sea in northernmost Arctic Alaska, the Hanford Nuclear Reservation on the shore of the Columbia River in the state of Washington, Mount Ryosen above Fukushima, Japan, back to where it all began at the cave hermitage of Charok, Nepal, to Margibi County, Liberia, in the base of an old iron bark tree on Dithwal Mountain in the Budawang Wilderness of Walbunia County, Yuin Nation, southeastern Australia. and to our root temple, Tolu Tharling Monastery in Nepal, the Munzur Valley in Turkey, Serpent Mound in Ohio, the Ashaninka Spiritual Portal, Campo do Rio Ammonia, Indigenous Land, Acre, Brazilian Amazon, bordering Peru. The Border Peace School, Showan, in the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Arhuaco Territory in Colombia. Akaroa Te Tiwai Ponamu, the Southern Island in New Zealand, and the vase recently planted on Mount Parnassus near Delphi in Greece.
And the third generation of Earth Treasure Vases in Antarctica. The Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides, Scotland. The Saugatuck Dunes on Lake Michigan. To the Highwood Valley in the Rocky Mountains in Alberta, Canada. Southeastern U.S. Turtle Island, Chicanagee, Tennessee. On the shores of Lake Washington in Kirkland, Washington, near the Life Care Center where COVID began in the U.S. And we also hold in our awareness and our hearts the Earth Treasure Vases that are currently being stewarded now. There are 10 second-generation vases, 17 third-generation vases. So we're sending our support in the form of light, embracing these clay pots and their stewards as they gather the prayers and the offerings in their journey. And finally, there are 6 vases awaiting their dedication who rest on the altar with the mother vase in New Mexico.
Once again, take a deep, slow in-breath and a deep, slow out-breath. And imagine that all that is needed to relieve the suffering of the earth can be seen as light, radiating out from each of the Earth Treasure Vases all around the whole planet in every direction. Imagine this healing light flowing out from the vases, filling the whole global Earth Treasure Vase mandala with the powerful energies of our love and caring. See this healing force traveling through the song lines and meridians of the earth, flowing into each location on the global mandala. The mandala, a web of light embracing the whole planet. Feel the light flowing back and forth like waves from your heart to the Earth Treasure Vases, energizing them and adding vitality and brilliance to the light that is then flowing out to the whole area and the sphere of influence around each of the Earth Treasure Vases.
And feel this light also flowing into your own location, your node in the mandala. Feel the collective spiritual intelligence of the entire global Earth Treasure Vase mandala entering your space and you as a holy vessel, living these prayers. And finally, please focus your concentration one-pointedly on bringing healing and protection to the whole earth for all time. Seeing this protection and this vitality radiating out from the vases around the earth. And imagine that the healing is accomplished and the vitality of the earth is completely restored.
Now recognizing the great interconnected web that is the life on Earth, of which we are a part. Let's give thanks for this precious sacred time and pray that the compassion and peace that is our true condition may bring supreme happiness and benefit to the earth and all beings. And with another deep, slow in-breath and deep, slow out-breath, bring your awareness fully into your body, feeling your feet on the floor, grounded on the earth in your own location. And wiggle your toes and open your eyes and return to the circle for our sharing prayers and for making offerings.
So gently now coming back together, and as you're ready, turning your video back on. And we're going to invite Stephen to bring forward the vase. I see there you are. And opening up the vase. And I'd love to invite the group who are stewarding and shepherding the vase in New Mexico, who will be on pilgrimage together, to come forward first to offer your prayers and blessings. And then after those of you who would like to give those offerings are complete, then we'll invite in the wider community to also give their blessings.
I can begin. And I think my deepest prayer to bring forth is that the degeneration that is so prevalent in this area of southeastern New Mexico, from the nuclear to the oil and gas to what potentially lies ahead, has been the work of large degrees of toxic masculinity that has not been in the interest of the common good for our Mother Earth. And so we call upon the reverse of that degeneration and a regeneration through the potency and the wisdom of the divine feminine, through all your mechanisms that you choose that will bring forth healing and conversions, not only of the land, but of the conversions of hearts, to know that all land is sacred, all people are sacred, all beings are sacred. And so as you join your grandmothers, grandfathers, your mother's fathers, your cousins in this lineage, you will bring forth new healing.
I can go next. My prayer is that As Elizabeth Christine mentioned, oil was first struck here in the Permian in 1923, actually, so exactly 100 years ago. And at the time, it was considered a miracle that they struck oil in this dry, desolate place. They didn't think they would find that here. And ever since that happened, the Permian Basin has been impacting the world in many ways. It's had an impact on geopolitics. The Bush family came from the area. All sorts of things have happened since that time. And now it is responsible for the biggest oil and gas boom that we've seen, you know, in recent history. And it is contributing to climate change, the methane pollution from here, and having a huge impact on global warming and what is happening to our planet. And so my hope is that this space, and my prayer for it, is that it kind of starts a new era here in the Permian Basin, and brings healing to where we are, to our land, to our people. But kind of begins a new era for the planet and the world in many ways. A step away from the oil era, and an era where we are living in line with indigenous cultures, and we are stewarding our earth responsibly. And I hope that can really establish a new way, instead of, as we transition to more sustainable energy sources, that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. And remember that even, you know, 100 years ago, oil was seen as this miracle. And then we rushed into it and we made it toxic in our own way, and we didn't step away when we should. And that as we step into the future, these new miraculous technologies, that we make sure they aren't harming people, and that when a new way needs to be found, we have the bravery to find a new way and to live differently. And so that would be my hope for this vessel and my prayer for it.
We grieve because of the woundedness of Holy Mother Earth. She has brought us forth and has nourished us. My prayer and my intention is that Holy Mother Earth may bring us to a greater awareness of the power of love, and that we may be able to contribute to the critical mass consciousness, in which we will open up a quantum leap and become the species that we can be. Pray for the permeation of love.
I offer the prayer of the word beauty, that beauty might surround this place, the places of healing, the places of wonder. The path of beauty that our ancestors have walked before us, the path of beauty that leads us into the future, the path of beauty that enshrines our hearts to be of service of love in this world.
And I bring to a prayer from Pope Francis in his encyclical Laudato Si, in which we pray for healing to our lives, that we may protect the world and not prey on it, that we may sow beauty, not pollution and destruction, that those who look only for gain are touched in their hearts. And instead of looking for gain at the expense of the poor and the earth, they discover the worth of each thing and be filled with awe and contemplation.
Is there anyone else here from the group of the Permian Basin that would like to share? Okay, so we'll open it up to the wider community now. Go ahead, Ray.
Hi, everyone. Tonight, learning more about the Permian Basin and what's happening right now. Well, I was there in the early days with Cynthia and other people in Santa Fe when we were fighting against the whip, etc. And all these years later, tonight, I'm experiencing, on one hand, a deep kind of peace, knowing what Kayley and Sister Joan and Stephen and all are bringing together for us tonight, all the energy that is coming together for healing. But at the same time, I'm feeling a deep anguish because it's not healed yet. And we've been trying for so long. So my prayer for the vase is that this pilgrimage, this wandering through this land that is for me personally very beloved and is very important for the whole world right now. Pray that the pilgrimage will be part of a cleansing for all of us within, so that we're really, really cleansed to the point where we can deeply, deeply imagine the healed world, the healed earth, and carry that imagination in full strength as soon as we can. And together for sure we can, but hopefully really bringing forth that vision soon. Thank you.
Deanna?
Thank you, Nicole. I don't even know where to start. First of all, I want to acknowledge Stephen, how beautiful it is to 2 years later, after we made our vases side to side, to see where this one has come and the richness and heart and depth with which you and Kayley and these Sisters of Mercy and all the other people who have participated in this Permian Basin vase consecration, the stage to which you've brought it. I'm so moved. And I'm also shattered to see those maps. I'm the steward of the Taos, New Mexico Treasure Vase, and I had an abstract notion of the oil fields and fracking, but Kayley, I'm so grateful that you showed us those visuals because that really brings it home. And I'm just in grief over it. And really grateful for the work that all of you are doing with this vase. I have a few prayers that I want to put into it. First of all, this is La Virgen de Guadalupe. whose energy I feel in the earth of New Mexico always. It's one of the main reasons I moved here. And my prayer with her, with the vase, is that she imbue this vase with all of her love and blessing and power and unlimited healing energy, and that that energy of hers may radiate through the vase and out to all the places where it's needed now, and particularly once it is buried in its sacred place. And that her light may guide you all in this endeavor and on this pilgrimage that you're making very soon. I also want to offer, I recently made a rosary in a workshop with sisters from my moon dance in Mexico. And this rosary is consecrated to all the women in my lineage, which is a Puerto Rican lineage, and all the women in my family have been extremely devout, really good at praying. So I want to offer prayers from my female lineage into this vase for all the healing that is needed and all the healing that it is capable of bringing into the world now and once it is buried. And finally, I want to offer a prayer for the sacred masculine in connection with what Stephen said about how toxic masculinity has helped to bring these horrors about, the horrors that we're praying to heal. It's my deep belief that toxic masculinity is masculinity that has been severed from its own sacred nature. And so my prayer that I'm putting into this vase is that it may help the masculine reconnect with its own sacredness so that we may all be healed. Amen.
Wendy.
Well, coming to you from the land of Alberta in Canada, I know all about oil gas fields. And unfortunately, if I were to show you a map up here, it wouldn't look much different from what you've shared down there. So I walk in heart with you on this journey you're all about to take with this vase, with so much healing. And what I would like to offer into it is the whole practice of forgiveness. From the long walk to this pot, to those fields, to walk with forgiveness to be received, for forgiveness to be offered, and to forgive ourselves. And some would refer to that as the Ho'oponopono practice. But without forgiveness, we continue to suffer. And I think we've suffered enough. And I think our beloved Earth has suffered enough. And so that is what I offer into the vase. But on the journey, I bless you all with roses and hearts. May you walk the heart path, the beauty path, and embrace the heart doctrine. For the salvation of humanity, Ubuntu, comes from the heart and is the heart. And everyone here is of heart. And so I will remain eternally optimistic that this shining light on the path and the shining light into this vase will bring some light to what I'm now thinking that we are all walking in a great valley of darkness, and that we came here to be the shining ones. And I put that shining light into this vase. And we all give each and every one of you that shining light as you make this so very important path on behalf of all beings. Much love, gratitude, and appreciation. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Belakwa. Aho.
You're welcome, Susan.
As I was sitting here, I was thinking, so I live in Illinois, and what we have a lot is nuclear plants around us. And I was thinking back, my father was a sheet metal worker, and he built a lot, or helped build a lot of nuclear plants. And I mean, I don't know a lot of the details because I was a kid, but I was thinking, I don't think he realized the scope of what he was doing with assisting to build that, or the consequences. And I wonder how many other people, like who work on the oil rigs or help with that industry. I know they're probably trying to help their family, and I don't know that they see some of the scope of it. So coming from my heart, I just think, and I think of ancestral healing too with my dad and grandfather. May their hearts, may the people who work on these places, may they find it in their heart a different way, like a different way of being able to exist. That my wish is that there's different ways instead of all these oil fields, that different solutions come up, that different people are able to say, we could do it this way. Because there's a system in place and there has to be a new system brought to being. I think if we just think it's going to stop, like this or that, and I pray that that other thing comes about easily and joyfully, and people are able to embrace, well, of course, this is the way we should do it. Yes, we did it this way, but this is possible. So I ask for the next possibility, being able to sustain families, ways of living, that comes forth easily, swiftly. And I go to my heart, and I think somebody mentioned the Ho'oponopono, like just a forgiveness of the way that was, the way we're doing it. And I envision a new way. Oh, thank you.
Laura Lynn?
Oh, thank you so much for everyone's prayers. And Stephen, it is so good to see you here as a representative of a man who walks your talk in bringing peace and beauty and healed masculine energy to lead this beautiful pilgrimage. And tonight I offer this opalagon, this bundle that I carry in solidarity with all of the people, the Native people from everywhere who are walking in this valley of darkness, wanting to share our lights together and to just remind you to take heart and know that all of the people who have visualized a more beautiful way of living, all of their prayers, all the ones of the future who are thinking of what we need to do, the steps we need to take to get to the beauty that they are so grateful to live in, that all these things are coming together. It's a huge work of evolution and humanity and all the living beings and geology. And it's just a privilege to be able to work with such beautiful people who are the craftspeople of what our great-great-grandchildren will live in, the joy that we all know is possible. So all blessings to every footstep that you all take, and may many hearts and old poisons be healed, and all strength and joy to you. Ho matakwasi inoe magana.
I'd like to add to Susan's prayer just more energy for this right livelihood. I was feeling that too, and in relationship to the masculine, which has been in this period of time the providers, and may visions of right livelihood come forward. May the masculine and feminine together generate these new images of ways of living, and may it also touch into our governments. I know our state government, quote, relies on that income to run New Mexico, and there's something so distorted in that we need that money, and we're sacrificing our lives in our land to have it. And may that distortion get worked through. I think this is part of the path of beauty everybody's speaking to, that this distortion between money and thriving, yes, just become in its right flow, in its right order. Thank you. And deep, deep appreciation to all of you walking this path of environmental awareness in this area of land. May you be supported by all the people, the angels, the earth, may you be uplifted, because it's powerful what you are doing. And I know it's challenging. So much love.
Hooray.
I would just like to ask the people who will be doing the pilgrimage, more specifically what their dates are, because I would like to be doing some rituals during that time to help accompany, even though I'm 3,000 miles away. So I think it's next week you're starting, maybe? Maybe Stephen or Kayley.
So the pilgrimage that we described, it will be beginning on September 18th, correct, Joan? Or is it no?
No,
No.
the 16th.
16th, okay. Saturday, September 16th, and it'll be buried on Friday, September 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Much gratitude.
Thank you everyone for your prayers, and thank you so much to everyone who's taking this journey. I'm very touched by this journey and by this pilgrimage, and I would love to add this water from the Castilian fountain in Greece to this vase. I think it's amazing that it's going to be in Rattlesnake somewhere, because snake, of course, is very potent and very important to the Greece trip as well, and to the Serpent Mound. And snake has been weaving its way through my journey with the treasure vases very much. So I'm loving that it's in this Rattlesnake area. And I just wanted, and the intention for the Greece vase was to heal the misogyny and oppression of women, and to bring the masculine and feminine into balance, and to heal the masculine as well. So I'd just like to add this water, and I'm going to add it on my altar into the vase, with the intention for it to go into the vase. Thank you so much.
Marita. Oh, I can't hear you. There you go.
Stephen, you and I shared the end of a table as you made that vase in Ghost Ranch, and I am so honored and touched to see where it is now, and where it will be going, its future journey, and its work. It's so wonderful. When I worked at Mount St. Mary's College in Los Angeles, my office was shared with another person, but it was in the bedroom of the residence of Edward Doheny, who, I don't know how many of you are familiar with him, but he was an oil baron and part of the Teapot Dome scandal, but he discovered some of the first oil wells in Los Angeles and Mexico, and in other places. And what has become of his residence and the homes that he bought up around him is now one campus of Mount St. Mary's College, which mostly has first generation students who are the children of immigrants, the children of migrant workers. And they are changing the lives of these young women and everyone that they touch afterwards. And so I would like to place the energy, the hope, the prayers, everything that came together to change, to transform the home of an oil baron into an institution of higher learning for Vietnamese, Mexican, just so many immigrants who are in the United States now. All of that energy I place into the vase, and in hopes that its transformation can take place in the Permian Basin. May it be so.
I'd like to, I'm seeing that Rattlesnake Springs that you described. I'm seeing that place so luminous and green and like rainbow, just this luminous radiance from that place. And I want to honor the protection that is already there. That I believe, Kayley, that you said it is fresh, clean water that comes from that spring. I can't see you at the moment.
Yes, I believe so. Unless it's been contaminated and we don't know, but yes, I believe.
Well, I want to honor the guardians who are already on that land, who have been working tirelessly in all realms, and who are whispering and so many mythos across the world. The places of springs are where there's a kind of whispering that happens from deep within the earth, the waters carrying Gaia's dreaming up to the surface, and it's a place of listening. And so I just place those prayers there, this spring that whispers, and that those who walk by will hear that which we've been talking about, this new that is emerging, that this new creative way that is right livelihood, that is what our future ancestors are already shimmering upon us right now, that Laurelyn spoke about. I just see it spreading from that place throughout that basin and beyond. And like Kayley, just like you said, like may this be a new era. And just from what was started there 100 years ago, and it spread and its impact went, may the impact happen, but in that place of regeneration that you all are talking about. So I just keep coming back to the image of the luminosity of that spring, and the green and the color and the wildflowers that will grow there, and those who walk by that will hear something in all of their relationships, and then all of those systems. And so I'm just empowering all of that and honoring the spring and the network, the underground networks of the waters that bring the ancient new memories forward to us. And I'm so grateful to them. And I'm grateful. And I'm so grateful to you who are walking with this vase and who are holding the grief of that place And I'm also feeling the walk that you will be on, the walk of horror, the walk of tragedy, of the genocide, of that path, the Redondo that you have mentioned. And may your walk and your pilgrimage bring the next layer of healing, of release, of vibrancy, and continuing to empower the strength, vitality, and dreaming forward of the people of that land, the indigenous people of that land, a complete healing, and the next generations emerging deeply in the wisdom and the embrace of their cultural ways, vibrant, free, freely expressed, and in service to all the generations to come. So thank you.
Sister Joan, were you going to speak?
Yes, I just wanted to, there's such alignments going on here tonight, and it's just, I think it's very important part of what you, Nicole, were saying, this kind of weaving. And just to say that, Kayley and I, have been praying about and trying to see where the sacred vessel was to be buried for quite some months, and along with Stephen's prayers. And we went through several different places. And after meditation one morning, I just thought, oh, there has to be a spring or something. And it was Rattlesnake Springs. And it was a place of indigenous place in the past. It was the basket weavers. They were called the basket weavers, who lived in that place. And the caves just above that area have their petroglyphs or pictographs in them. And so those ancestors, protectresses or protectors, I do believe they are there and still there. And I've just been so taken too with this interweaving of the oil and gas and the nuclear and all of that kind of that extractivism and the suffering, the sacrifice zones in the state, but that they're spread around, like one of, was it Gwen or of Ohio or Indiana, Ohio, with the nuclear power plant. You might not be aware, but they're wanting to put all of the spent nuclear fuel rods from all those power plants also in the same area in New Mexico, southeast New Mexico, in Holtec. There's no place to store it in the entire country, and that's where the United States wants to put it. So I guess I just pray for these deep, deep wounds and of colonialism, of colonization, of an old worldview, that it be transformed by those springs, by the serpent who is a transformer and is of water in this state, and many other symbolisms with our native peoples here. So just pray great gratitude.
And I would like to just add a couple more short prayers off of the ones being offered. But that the beauty of the underground waters and how they come up through the springs. And I was just thinking of the vase being there, amplifying the voice of the earth. And so I just wanted to say that out loud. May this vase amplify the voice of those waters. And also, I lived in northern New Mexico for 20 years with the rattlesnakes, and it's powerful medicine. And I think it's so important that we actually call on it directly, the rattlesnake medicine and the rattles, the rattles just stop you in your tracks when you hear them. You know, it's just like such a potent medicine. I don't know what else to say, but it feels like what's called for with the level of degradation that's taking place there. And so may those rattles, and I know that the indigenous people use their rattles a lot in their dances to commune with the earth and to wake the energies that need to be wakened. So that's my added prayer. Thank you.
Julian.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, thank you, Kayley and Stephen, for this work that you're doing, and the sisters, and this incredible effort to really bring a lot of deep sensing and feeling and walking these pathways and tuning into the ancestral energies of the land and the nature beings. And I think that's a really powerful way of bringing so much strength to what you're doing. Just letting you know that here I'm in the southwest of Western Australia, and I'm stewarding a treasure vase here, and I've been part of a lot of work that's been preventing forest, you know, the degradation of the forests, but also gas pipelines and oil hubs and many things like that. And I just want to give you a story of encouragement that there was a huge gas hub planned for the Kimberley region, and there was millions of dollars that went into starting this project, and the protesting and the Indigenous involvement that happened here gained such momentum, and there were fundraising concerts and everything, and I was very much part of whatever was trying to support stopping that from happening. But I had a dream one night where I was on a gas platform, and there was like a pipe going down from the gas pipeline into the earth. And as you know, I'm a didgeridoo player, and I was playing this pipe that was going down into the earth, and I was chanting this mantra down through the pipeline into the earth. And at a certain point, the whole gas rig, all the power shut down. Someone came running up to me and said, "What have you done? You know, everything's shut down." And then the most incredible thing happened. Out of the pipe, this luminescent violet light just came oozing out of the pipe, and it was just the most beautiful vision of all this color and radiance and almost like celestial light, and it was just so beautiful. And it gave me a lot of encouragement. I thought, wow, I feel like something's really happened. And as it turned out, a few weeks later, and of course I'm joining the efforts of everybody, that whole gas plans, it all stopped, and the government pulled out, and the whole thing didn't go ahead. And all the efforts, I mean, people were chained to bulldozers and trying to stop them going in and doing things and slowing things down. And anyway, it worked. And I really truly believe that this community has the power, and we have to have faith and trust that these prayers are being heard by Mother Earth. But I think that the thing that I feel like to offer is imagining all these prayers going into each individual well in this Permian Basin, and just bringing that pure energy of the Great Mother, so that she just fully feels this love and this caring, this support, and that some way, somehow, that, like everyone's mentioned, different ways of doing things, divine solutions, the higher self of all people involved get messages that there is another way, and to, you know, bit by bit change the constellation of all these energies, so that the solution and the honouring of the sacred land can be really strengthened and honoured and brought back to how we all pray it to be a place of regeneration and healing and new pathways. It may take time, but yeah, I just wanted to really say to you all that yeah, this work it will have a big impact, and just keep on sending that love into the earth, because the earth knows exactly what to do with that energy. Thank you so much for doing all this work, and yeah, much love. Yeah, but all that good energy and that strong energy that's been cultivated on this land, may that go into your vase and support the work that needs to be done there. Thank you.
We have just a few minutes left. Kayley or Stephen, is there anything rising up in you that you want to share before we close?
Yeah, I would like to say just how grateful I am for this space and for all of you, and the work that you're doing in your communities and with your vases. And it really means a lot where I am, that, you know, I don't always get to feel you know, loved or held, and I really felt that tonight. And I just want to say that I'm really, really grateful for that space that you all made and your spirits. So thank you very much for that.
I think it's just taking that beautiful image, Julian, that you offered us, but that from the whispering of the springs through the wells into our atmosphere, a completely radiance that's been described, and how that will move through not only that region, but beyond the region. So.
Elizabeth, would you like to close us with the dedication?
Yes. It's been an amazing, amazing evening. So we now dedicate and turn over everything that we have generated here to the powers that can carry it forward. And we do not cling in any way to the virtue and goodness we have generated. In order that all beings may benefit from it, we dedicate it to the realm of totality. And for as long as the earth remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, may these earth treasure vases too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And through the merits of this practice, may all beings live in peace and harmony. May there be no more war or conflict, and may all hearts be filled with compassion.
Thank you, everyone. And just know that our hearts will be with you on your pilgrimage and in the days ahead towards your the burial of the vase. We'll be thinking of you and holding you.